Hi everyone, you're watching Tamit Saleh's Tennis Forum, and in this video we are going to be looking at Daniil Medvedev's chances of becoming the next world number one. I must say this is full of stats, so if you love numbers, stats, looking at schedules and tournaments, you are going to love this video. And I'm very excited right now to be sitting here and to be able to share my findings, and I've even got my little notepad. I don't know if you can see, so this is the stuff I love. So yeah, we are going to be taking a nosedive into the next 3 or 4 months of tennis. Now, before I begin, I must say that the reception you guys have given my previous videos has been amazing. In the last 24 hours, my last video got over 5,000 views, and in the video I asked for, let's see if we can reach 50 thumbs up. It's already well over 300, so yeah, thank you very much for that. And it really helps the channel grow. In the past couple of days I've gained almost 200 subscribers, and it's lovely having this community where tennis fans of all players can come and give their thoughts and have discussions, and that's what I really wanted with this whole channel. So yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, if you haven't already, please do subscribe, hit that notification bell. In fact, if you haven't done that, please go and do that now. Hit the notification bell, drop a thumbs up. It honestly helps the channel grow so much, and I do appreciate it. But yeah, this video we are going to be looking at the next few tournaments all the way up until Wimbledon, and to see whether or not Daniil Medvedev can become the next world number one without a slam. He would become the first man since Marcelo Rios to achieve that, who achieved that in March the 30th, 1998, and he in fact never won a slam in his entire career, and he only reached one Grand Slam final. He spent a total of 6 weeks as world number one. The only other player to achieve world number one without winning a slam or before winning a slam in the Open era was Ivan Lendu. He achieved the world number one in February 28, 1983. But then he won his first slam in 1984 at the French Open. What's quite astounding is that Ivan Lendu then, he still won 8 Grand Slams. He lost 8 finals as well. And he spent a total of 270 weeks as world number one. That's an incredible number, only bettered by a select few of players. But yeah, Medvedev trying to become that world number one. We're going to be looking at the next few tournaments. And before I do that, I just want to quickly explain very briefly how the ranking system works. In my previous video, which was about the rankings update, there was quite a few questions about, Novak won the Australian Open, why hasn't his points moved, etc. So how the tennis point scoring system works is, let's forget the COVID system. Generally, it's a rolling 52-week ranking system. So Novak Djokovic, because he won Australia last year, he could not have gained any points. He can only defend those points. Whereas someone like Daniil Medvedev, he added points because he did not reach the final last year. So, you keep bettering yourself. That's how you add points. Novak Djokovic, even if he wins Australia next year, he can't gain any points from Australia as long as you're the defending champion. And that's the case with any tournament in tennis. That's the way the ranking system works. With COVID, they kind of made the 52-week system into a 104-week system. So instead of 1 year, it's become 2 years. And how that works is they use your best result in your previous 2 years at a specific tournament, and that's the points you have. And that has caused a few tournaments now where 2 players are defending the maximum points of a victory. So just to quickly give you an example, in Rome this year, both Novak and Rafa will be defending 1,000 points. Novak won it last year in 2020, Rafa won it the previous year in 2019. So yeah, both players will be defending 1,000. Of course, there's no way both players can defend it because you can't have 2 winners, but that's the COVID system. However, it does seem like from March that system will be removed, and it'll go back to the normal system of 52 weeks. So players will be able to start dropping points again from March going onwards. There are a couple of tournaments before then though that are still protected, which is Dubai, which I know because if you go on the ATP Tour website, it says the date of the points being dropped, and I believe every tournament before that. So you can have your 250s and 500s, but from my understanding, the first tournament players will be able to drop points from, according to the ATP website, is from Miami Masters 1000. Indian Wells has been postponed, so the Sunshine Double will be a Sunshine Single this year, and then I believe Indian Wells, they're looking to do it sometime in the summer when the rest of the US tournaments take place. But yeah, let's nosedive into stats now. If you're into stats like I am, if you're into numbers, you're gonna love this. If you're not so much into it, just try and bear with me. I'll try and simplify it and explain it as best as I can. So all the way up until Wimbledon, which is what we're going to look at. So the live rankings as of right now, February the 23rd, Novak Djokovic is the world number one on 12,030 points. He will very soon become the longest ever world number one, but we're going to make a separate video for that when that happens. The new Novak is world number one. Rafa Nadal is world number two on 9,850. I feel like I've said Rafa's been on 9,850 for an awfully long time now. Medvedev is now the world number three, his career high ranking on 9,735. And we'll include Dominic Thiem as well in this, who's world number four on 9,125. These are realistically the four players who will be the world number one or can take over that world number one from Novak. I know the Tsitsipas and Zverev, but I just feel like right now they're too far down. So these are the four players we're going to be looking at. Now, from now all the way up until Wimbledon, realistically, there's 9,500 points on offer. And I'm not including, the ATP 250s in this, just simply because even if the top four play, I just don't see them playing too many 250s, and we can always adjust this, and I can make an update video in the coming months. So in the next two tournaments are Rotterdam and Dubai. Now Dubai, I believe, is where Roger Federer is expected to return, so that will have a lot of spectators tuning in for that match. Rotterdam, so far the confirmed names are Daniil Medvedev and Rafa Nadal. Dominic Thiem is not confirmed. I don't know if he's playing or not, and I highly doubt Novak Djokovic will play either Rotterdam or Dubai. Of course, as you know, he's confirmed he's had a 25mm tear on his abdominal muscle. So yeah, one smart thing I would say Rafa is doing is his 500 points from Acapulco is protected, so he is not going to drop those 500 points, and now he's playing in Rotterdam, meaning he can kind of have the best of both worlds, let's say. Daniil Medvedev and Rafa, they're defending absolutely nothing in Rotterdam, so they can gain 500 points there. Now from Miami onwards, this is when the points start to drop, and I've calculated how many points each player is defending all the way up until Wimbledon. So all the way up until Wimbledon, Medvedev is only defending 870 points. That is nothing. So out of his 9,735, only 870 are up until Wimbledon. Of course, it goes both ways. It means he's defending a hell of a lot post Wimbledon all the way up until the end of the year. But yeah, Novak Djokovic is actually defending the most amount of points up until Wimbledon. He's defending 5,470 points. Rafa Nadal is defending 4,620, and Dominic Thiem, who is defending 2,110. So, even though Dominic has had a relatively poor Australian Open, he's still in the running to become world number one as well, and we should not forget that. Now, I'm going to briefly go through all the tournaments before Wimbledon and how many points kind of are being defended. So before Wimbledon, realistically, the top players will be looking to play the following tournaments. We've got Rotterdam and Dubai, where ranking points are still defended. Then we've got Miami, Masters 1000, Monte Carlo, Masters 1000, Barcelona, ATP 500, Madrid and Rome, both Masters 1000, Roland Garros, Grand Slam, and Wimbledon, Grand Slam. Those are realistically the tournaments players will be looking to play. Most likely not going to play all of them, but that's where your majority of your points are coming from. If you look at the next few tournaments for Daniil Medvedev, I'm really going to focus on Medvedev here because the video is about him, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about the other guys. We can do an update if things change over the coming months. Rotterdam and Dubai, as I've said, he's defending nothing. I think he will play Rotterdam. I don't think he'll play Dubai. Of course, we need to remember with the COVID restrictions, players will need to probably quarantine in a lot of countries. They'll be away from families. We don't know how much of their coaching staff they can take with them, their physios, etc. So we need to bear that into account into how many tournaments will be played as well. Rotterdam and Dubai, don't think Medvedev's playing both. He's playing Rotterdam. Then we've got Miami. He's only defending a round of 16 there, so only 90 points. And then the following two clay tournaments, he's actually done fairly well. Remember, last year there was no clay season. We only had Rome and French Open, which was in autumn. But so yeah, these points are from the previous year in 2019, where Daniil Medvedev actually did really well, or relatively well, considering his worst surface. In Monte Carlo he has a semi-final, and in Barcelona he has a final. Monte Carlo is defending 360, Barcelona he's defending 300. So for me, realistically, and on the flip side, Novak is he's only defending 180 in Monte Carlo, nothing in Barcelona. Both players are defending 90 points in Miami. Looking at that, I don't think realistically Medvedev will take that number one spot anytime before Barcelona. I think if you look at it, he's actually defending more points than Novak. Novak, of course, has that 500 in Dubai, but he is protected. So yeah, he's defending a lot more points actually than Novak, and he still has that difference to make up as well. So realistically, Novak is pretty much locked in to have the world number one spot until at least the beginning of Madrid, which is in May. So that you can add probably another 12 weeks to Novak's total there. Now, from Madrid onwards, this is where Medvedev can really, get that swing on Novak. He lost in the first round of Madrid, Rome, and French Open. He's got absolutely nothing to defend, only 30 points in those three big tournaments. There's been a lot made about Medvedev and his poor clay game, let's say. And yes, by far, Medvedev is not suited to the clay tournaments. However, things can change. And bearing in mind, some of these points, except for the French Open, they're from a couple of years back. Medvedev was not the same player on any surface 2 years ago as he is now. So I would expect maybe for him not to win the tournaments, but a big, let's say, improvement from Daniil. So defending nothing up in Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros. On the flip side, Novak is defending a win in Madrid, a win in Rome, and a final runner-up spot in the French Open. That's altogether 3,200 points. And it is those three tournaments that could really swing it for Daniil Medvedev. If he goes relatively deep in Madrid and Rome, let's say, if he reaches a final and a semi-final, that's 1,000 points gained pretty much. Novak, if he goes to a final and semi-final, he's going to lose 1,000 points from his ranking because, of course, he's defending so many points there. So I've done a bit of calculation, and what I'm going to do is we're going to look at if all four of these players do not play any tennis, what points will they be on at specific points this season. And the points are before the French Open, so just after Rome, after the French Open, and after Wimbledon. So if none of these players played any tournaments before the French Open, Medvedev would still have 8,965 points. Novak would have 10,260. Nadal will have 8,450, and Thiem will have 8,245. So Novak is still relatively safe up until the French Open, and then things start swinging for him because, of course, he's defending big points in both France and in London, Wimbledon, after the French Open. So if all of these players didn't play any tournaments up until and including the French Open, Medvedev would have 8,955 points, Novak would have 9,060, Rafa would have 6,450, and Dominic Thiem would have 7,045. Of course, he's also defending a runner-up spot from a couple of years ago at the French Open. Wimbledon, this is the key one, and this is the final one. I know there's been a lot of stats and numbers, but yeah, up until Wimbledon, if none of these players played anything, Medvedev, this is where he has the big lead. He has 8,865 points. He would have if he did not play a single tournament all the way up until Wimbledon. Novak would have 7,060, so that's 1,800 points less. Rafa would have 5,730 and Dominic would have 7,035. So very similar to Novak in that sense. So as you can see from looking at these numbers, Medvedev has a real chance to overtake Novak for the world number one in Madrid or Rome. Potentially, most likely after Rome. Of course, it is still a rat race. So even though Novak is defending these points, he could still go and defend Madrid. He could still go and defend Rome. You never know. Of course, he might play Monte Carlo, where he has very few points to defend, a quarter-final spot. He could easily improve that in Monte Carlo. I would expect him to improve a quarter-final finish. In Miami, this is probably Medvedev's biggest chance. It's not confirmed whether or not Novak will be ready to play. He has said he's going to take a bit of a break, but you never know. He might play in Miami. But yeah, looking at these numbers, looking at where Medvedev stands, I want you to let me know whether or not you think Medvedev could, get a few weeks as world number one before Wimbledon or even after Wimbledon. Because I'm not saying he will end the year as world number one. He's got a hell of a lot of points to defend after Wimbledon. Many Masters 1000. He's got that US Open final. He's still defending as well. And the World Tour finals at the end of the year, which he got the victory. So I am by no means saying Medvedev will end the year as world number one. But because of the way the tennis ranking system works, he really does have a big chance to become that world number one. The second point is, if he does become world number one, is it any less of an achievement because he has no Grand Slams? The last person to do this was Marcelo Rios, and that was over 2 decades ago. This was done in 1998, so we've not had that in a long time. Of course, the big three have pretty much wiped away anyone else's chances in the last 16 years. I said this stat in my last video. In the last 16 years, only 4 players have even got to world number 2, let alone world number 1. And it's actually the same 4 players, but it's the big 3 and Andy Murray. So Medvedev looking to do something that's not been done by anyone other than those 4 in the last 16 or so years. But yeah, let me know, will it be any less of an achievement if he becomes world number 1 without having any slams? And do you see him becoming world number 1 in the coming weeks? The biggest chances, as I've said, looking at these, I think Novak is pretty much safe to enter Madrid as world number 1, and then it's a case of, can he just perform better than Medvedev? As I've said to you, if you look at these points, even if they don't play all the way up until French Open, Novak still has about 100 more points than Medvedev in the rest of the season. So including the French Open, Medvedev has 8,955, Novak has 9,060. So it really is a case of who gets the most points up until the French Open, and it's fairly even race. Then it's Wimbledon, where Novak will need to defend to, let's say, maintain that, because he drops 2,000 in Wimbledon. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope it made sense. Maybe for a few neutrals it might have been a little bit complicated, so I do apologize for that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section. I'll try and answer your questions. And there's also a lot more, like, let's say, knowledgeable people than myself in the comment section. I've seen it many times happen where someone asks a question before I even see it or before I get the chance to reply, someone has already dropped a detailed answer to their question. So yeah, if any of this doesn't make sense, if you have any questions, please do drop it there. But yes, the big question, will Daniil Medvedev become world number 1 during the clay court season? Will he improve his clay court season? That, I think, is a definite yes, simply because even though he lost in the first round French Open, a lot of these results are from 2 years ago, when even on a hard court, Medvedev was not the same player. And yeah, is it any less of an achievement if Medvedev becomes the world number 1 without a Grand Slam? I'd like to end my video there. Once again, it's been a pleasure these last few days, coming back really after some a lengthy layoff. Please do drop a comment, leave a like if you can, and subscribe to the channel. It really does help promote the channel to a wider audience and helps the channel grow. But I'll leave you there. Thank you very much. Have a good day.